Let's keep it short and sweet this time, fellas. I believe that a good novel, like a proper meal, is meant to be satisfying while conveying the intent of the person who created it. So then, a short story is kind of like a canapé. They are this compact and harmonious version of a meal, but you might need to have a couple to really feel full. Although I don't think you are actually meant to eat too many of them. Not at once at least, I mean they are like appetizers, right? Yeah, this whole metaphor is just falling apart. This is my top 10 short story collections. Number 10 is The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh yeah, baby, groovy.
Really, dude? Austin Powers? Why? Because Conan Doyle was English?
Well, no, technically he was Scottish. He was born in Edinburgh.
Why pushy? Aren't you a cunning linguist? Epic historical rap battles aside, I actually believe that this book, having the rather infamous The Final Problem in it, kind of overshadows its quality. Not to say The Final Problem is a bad story, on the contrary, it's by all means an exciting caper, from Sherlock arriving injured in Watson's home after surviving not one, not two, but 3 assassination attempts on the day, all the way to the final confrontation on Rickenback Falls. The thing is, it's not even the best goddamn story in here. I particularly like the Moss Grave Ritual, since, as you know, your boy likes the Goths, and this one falls well within the umbrella, I'd say. There's old houses, cryptic messages, second-degree murder, desecration of a dead body, you know, the works. It's either the Moss Grave Ritual or the Greek interpreter taking the crown for the best story in the book, really. Depends on how much you like Mycroft Holmes. Original character do not steal, he's just like Sherlock except he's even smarter. On the real though, give the memoirs a look. There's plenty of gold to be found here, under the elm, over the shadow. Number 9 is The Wide and Carnivorous Sky by Jon Langen. This whole collection works on 2 levels, in that each story in it is its own journey, but also the entire work as a whole has a narrative. Kind of like an album. Do we still have those? The stories in Carnivorous Sky explore werewolves, zombies, vampires, and the unknowable things from beyond the darkest stars, and many other horror conventions, all with a bit of weird fiction sauce, but none done more tastefully and deeply than Technicolor. This short story takes the form of a university lecture on The Mask of the Red Dead by Edgar Allan Poe, but then it gets meta and weird. I guess I have to tell you about The Mask of the Red Dead now, huh? Oh well, basically the story follows a prince in his attempt to protect himself from a plague known as the Red Death by hiding in his abbey. He and a bunch of other nobles host a masquerade ball in 7 rooms in the abbey, each decorated with a different color. But then, a mysterious figure appears wearing an emaciated red mask and begins to make his way through each of the rooms, and as you can guess, this is Allan Poe, so a wholesome good time ensues. Technicolor is one of 2 stories in this collection taking place in a classroom, which is fitting since, fun fact, Langen is actually a professor in real life. Right what you know, I guess. Number 8 is Occultation and Other Stories by Laird Barron. Laird Barron participated in the Iditarod dog sled race in the 90s at least 3 times. Also, he used to work as a fisherman in the Bering Strait. Neither of these things are related to why he wears an eye patch. Frankly, it's none of your business. If you were to read a single tale in this collection, I would recommend Mysterium Tremendum. The story begins with the discovery of the Motheror de Calignis, a dark tome in the same tradition as the Necronomicon. This happens in a second-hand shop a few weeks before Willem and Glenn's vacation with some of Glenn's friends from college. They buy the book and take it home. Soon, Willem becomes obsessed with it, and evil encroaches. The book itself is a guidebook to Washington State, with the occasional occult essay peppered in. It marks several locations that shouldn't exist, like a cave system in Yakima and a dolmen in the Olympian Peninsula. If you liked it, well, good news. It ties in directly to The Crowning, which is arguably Byron's best book. With that, remember the golden rules. Action equals reaction. The crack that runs through everything stirs into you. Big fish eats little fish. Night's agents watch you ape. Number 7 is Strange Pilgrims, 12 Stories by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is essentially just Mr. Garcia Marquez flexing his huge literary muscles a bunch of times in one book. He is arguably the greatest writer to have ever been born in Latin America, don't you know? This one you should definitely go out of your way to read in its original language if you can. Also note that if we were fair, every slot under the 7th one would be a Garcia Marquez collection too. He is that good. So this one is basically a placeholder, since it's my favorite. I particularly enjoyed The Saint. It's about a guy trying to get his dead daughter canonized by the church. Give it a look. Number 6 is Her Body and Other Parties, Stories by Carmen Maria Mojado. I think this is the most interesting collection, but it's also the one that I struggle the most recommending. Her Body and Other Parties is, at its core, a very feminist book. I'd argue that beyond its more experimental nature, the main unifying theme here is that there's a very female perspective that guides us through the whole ordeal. It is also a very aggressive book. You know, like, sexually. My personal favorite is The Husband Stitch, which is apparently an actual type of surgery. Holy shit, you know what? You look it up. Yeah, The Husband Stitch is essentially a retelling of that one story about the girl with the green ribbon. You know the one. She wears a ribbon around her neck. She gets married to this lucky fella, and she's a 10, but she always wears the green ribbon around her neck, and refuses to tell people why, always saying it's not the right time. So they'll be out on a picnic, or at the theater, or just out and about in town. She always wears a ribbon. She wears the ribbon when she's asleep. She showers with the ribbon on, and it goes on and on. Like, she even has kids. None of them have ever seen their mother without the ribbon. But then, years later, all of a sudden she tells her husband that the time is right. She unties the ribbon, and her head falls to the floor. Do yourself a favor and make some space in your day to read The Husband Stitch out loud. Follow the stage directions at the beginning of this story and experience it the way it is meant to be experienced. Number 5 is Stranger Things Happen by Kelly Link. Ah yes, Kelly Link, your favorite author's favorite author. This is the part of the list where all the stories are good to great. The whole thing is somewhere between weird fiction and magical realism. It's 11 quirky, fun stories. I have to say though, reading The Girl Detective kind of makes me wish Kelly Link wrote more long-form stuff. Not that The Girl Detective is not good, it's good as is. It's about a Nancy Drew type character that has to go to hell in order to solve a case. Like, go to the underworld, not just you get it. But then there's a second POV character, as like a narrator that's watching her. Although the possibility is left open that the narrator might be herself as a sort of alter ego that the girl detective uses to help her solve cases. But it's more of a Calvin and Hobbes situation rather than a Fight Club kind of deal. I think the narrator seems benign is what I'm saying. Number 4 is 6 Stories. King! This is so refreshing. Exactly what it says on the package. I'd recommend this one to someone trying to get into Stephen King but not willing or able to make the commitment with one of the novels. Baby's first Stephen King book, if you will. Disclaimer: do not read this to your toddler. My favorite one is Autopsy Room. It's about a guy who gets bitten by a snake while playing golf, so people think he's dead and proceed as per the protocol. It's delightfully morbid. When people call Stephen King's writing fast food literature, I think they are referring to this exactly. Me personally, I do love a Big Mac once in a while. Number 3 is Ficciones by Jorge Luis Borges. You know how I said that Garcia Marquez is arguably the greatest writer to ever be born in Latin America? Well, here's the argument. JLB was the Spanish language short story writer. The big G's, if you will. Every single story in this book would be the best one in most others. It's hard to choose, really. If I had to, though, I guess I'd go with the Circular Ruins. I'm afraid I won't be able to do justice to this one, though, so instead of trying and failing this time, you get the final line. It was with relief, with humiliation, with terror. He realized that he too was but appearance, that another man was dreaming him. Number 2 is Miscellany 1, Poems, Stories, Broadcasts by Dylan Thomas. Yes, Do Not Go Gently Into the Night is in here. He did some other good things too, all of them very dense and lyrical, so just keep your mind and heart open. My favorite thing in here, besides the obvious one already mentioned, which, it's just his best work. He was a poet. Anyway, my second favorite Dylan Thomas work is possibly The Mouse and the Woman. It's a cyclical story, though, so again, there is going to be repetition. It's a bit on the surreal side. It kind of feels like one of those stories that wasn't written, you know? Like it was always there. Earlier we talked about The Mask of the Red Death and The Green Ribbon. Both of those have a similar feel. I believe we call those classics. The Mouse and the Woman explores death, rebirth, love, the human spirit, nature, and fragility. It sits in that stream of consciousness, dreamlike space. So the best I can do for you is tell you it's about a man and a woman, a mouse and a dog, and they all live together in a little cottage. Number 1 is White Dialogues by Bennett Sims. Alright, listen, does this being number 1 mean I think it's better than Jorge Luis Borges, Dylan Thomas, Kelly motherfucking Link? No, of course not. But it is my favorite collection. It's rare to find something truly beautiful and new in this dark world of ours. Even the simple pleasures fade eventually. We take them for granted. We claim providence and in our arrogance willingly but unwitting surrender our eyes to the darkness. You can only read a book for the first time once. That experience is your own. It will one day fade into memory, but while the paint is fresh, you should appreciate the colors, because they will never be as bright again. White Dialogues, all 11 stories in this collection, as of right now and since 2017, when I first read them, remains bright and colorful, profound, and fun. My single story recommendation for this one is Destroy All Monsters. It's about a man trying to fend off a demon that I am also acquainted with. His name is Procrastination, you may have heard of him too. Anyway, he is trying to concentrate as he reads Tom Jones. No, the novel. I said read, not delight his ears with the dulcet tones of the sexiest man that ever lived. So yeah, he fails miserably and goes on a weird tangent about kaiju movies. Very, entertaining. What? What do you mean I have to explain what that is? Are you trying to tell me people don't know Tom Jones? That's ridiculous, I'll have you know, it's extremely popular. The bitches love Tom Jones. What was that? The book or the guy? Both of them?